Hi guys, so this is the day 5 and 6 update of my new Red Sea Reefer 350 upgrade. Yesterday would have been day 7, not much happened, it's just letting the tank settle really, but let's roll back to day 5. So in the shot behind you'll see that what I did is I put in my new dry rock that arrived. This is 20 kilograms of dry ocean rock, which I was hoping I was going to use to basically just build a new foundation for when I move over my existing rocks, which is completely covered in coral. Turned out that I ended up putting all of it in, and it is all still in there. I didn't take any out. So in that shot you'll see that the two rocks that I had, the lonely rocks that were in the tank, are there, plus I put in a couple of extra rocks from the tank, and ultimately just allowed the tank to sit overnight like that, so that I could test the water quality in the morning, just in case anything strange had come out of the new rock. So I'd given all that rock a rinse because it was quite dusty. So yeah, so the tank sat like that, as you can see, overnight into day 6. But on day 5 I also, and I hope these pictures have come out in the correct order, let's have a look. So, oh yes, so one of the rocks sort of looks like a dragon skull, which I thought was quite cool. So I placed it so it could be seen. I thought it might look quite cool, especially when like all the algae and coralline grow on it and it goes like purple. I thought it would look quite cool. This is more rock rubble in my sump. So in here as well, just to quickly mention it, so this happened on day 6. I put my dwarf angel in that compartment. My daughter calls him Grumpy because if you added any other fish into the display tank, the dwarf angel would be quite aggressive towards any new fish. So he's in there, and he won't get added to the display tank until later on Wednesday next week, which is when I've got more livestock turning up. Although depending on changes to plans, because I might look to get some other stuff, he may stay in there for a little bit longer, but he's absolutely happy in there. So that's fine. This is my carbon reactor, which I've set up. So basically water gets pumped into here, down the tube. It goes down the tube, up the bottom, through loads of carbon pellets, and then up and out and back into the tank. What that does is it basically polishes the water column, and removes what's the word, contaminants. So basically will keep your water crystal clean, crystal clear. It also, carbon is used to remove the organics from coral warfare. So basically if corals get too close to each other, they can release toxins into the water, and carbon is very good at removing those toxins from the water. So yeah, I love my carbon reactor. And you'll see just behind me the blue pump just down there, which is my new return pump, which cycles the water back up to the display tank. It's actually a lot bigger than I was expecting, but it's absolutely fine. It's always good to have a big pump running, because then you don't have to run it on full, and it's never straining to pump water back up to the top. I think the next picture is a comparison there with my hand. It is probably a third bigger than I was expecting, which is absolutely fine. So you're probably wondering about the the sort of thumbnail for this video with the giant worm attack. I'll get to that right now. So I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but from there, which is going underneath the rock, all the way up and round over there, is a giant worm. Now, this was quite scary because I wasn't expecting it. But that rock there is a slab, which is, how can I show it? It's probably about that big. And it's currently standing upright there, standing up on its end, so that I could get that photo. So what happened was, so this is day 6. So after I tested all my water and everything was fine, I started moving over all my old rocks. Now this slab was going to go on the bottom of the tank, and then so I was going to put some of the new rock on top of it and build my aquascape that way. So I've pulled this rock up in my old tank and I'm dipping it because it's got loads of dirty sand. I'm letting it drip, everything's fine, and then I'm just not seeing anything, it's just a rock. Okay, and I'm looking at the bottom of the rock, and that is the bottom of the rock. Okay, so there's nothing on it, it's absolutely fine, it's clean. So I pulled it straight out of the tank and I'm walking towards the other tank, and all of a sudden this thing comes flying out of the bottom of this rock and it wraps itself right round my thumb, and I've freaked and I'm like, what is going on? Instantly thought that it was a Eunice worm or Bobbit worm, and the only way to sort of compare that without showing you a picture, because I didn't prepare a picture because I thought the description would do it justice. If you remember the 90s movie Tremors with those giant worms, and Kevin Bacon running through the desert with these giant worms, literally that is a Bobbit worm. So what it would do is it would sit its head either out of the substrate through this, out of the sand, or a hole in its rock, and it's literally got its head like this with its teeth out open, and it waits for something to come across it, and then that's it, you know. So instantly I was thinking, well, this could be where all my fish went. However, my dwarf angel, who's in the sump, and my algae blenny used to sleep under this rock. So it made me start to think, well, what is it? But I did try to pull the worm out of the rock before I pulled it, put the rock in the tank, but it just retreated back into the rock. But I did catch a glimpse of its head, and it literally just looks like a worm, a giant worm, with like feet, sort of, yeah. So I'd say more like a millipede. So anyway, I put the rock back in to the tank and it came back out, confirming that I think it's more a ragworm. So if you don't know what a ragworm is, I don't know how common they are around the world, but here in the UK on a sandy beach you'll see like coils of sand, like little mounds of coils of sand, and that is left by a ragworm. And if you dig down, fishermen will go to the beach in the mornings, just as low tide, and they'll look for these coils of sand. They'll dig up the sand and then they've got ragworm, and they'll go fishing with them. This is what I think it is, and he's a big boy. Like I'm talking at least that big, which you know, is 20 to 25 centimeters from what I saw of it, but it was still in the rock. I never saw the tail. So anyway, he's still in there. He can stay. That rock I've had in my tank for, well, since I got my original tank, which would have been 5 years ago, and I don't think he's doing any harm, so he can stay. But I'm going to show you a video of him. So here we go. So you can see him crawling across the rock So I instantly got this shot and sent it to a friend. Look, you can sort of see him moving. He's big. He's a big boy. That's a big rock. That's the biggest rock that's in my tank. So yeah, anyway, let's get rid of him. Obviously, it's probably disheartening a few people about having a tank, but you know, you can start a marine tank with all dry rock and no existing live rock, and you just won't get critters like that in your tank. This was an established aquarium that I got my rock from when I started, and he has obviously just been in there the whole time. Probably smaller than that originally. You know, I've got bristle worms in there which are quite big, you know, as long as my finger, and you don't want to touch one of them because it will irritate you. And so that was one thing I did forget to say. I was wearing gloves at the time when he wrapped himself around my finger, and I'm glad, because if I hadn't, I don't know where the rock would have ended up. Like, you know, reaction, I probably would have launched it, it probably would have smashed something. So I'm glad I was wearing gloves, because that shock factor of letting go and launching the rock across the room didn't happen, because that's why I wear gloves. You know, things touch you, you don't freak out. So moving on, so during day 6 I added in all of my existing content. So this is my hairy mushroom rock. They are bright green under blue light, and this flat little black thing here is actually a mussel, which when I got this rock, which was probably 4 years ago, I never knew that was there, and it's grown over the years, and he's really cool. So he will open up and you can actually see him inside, and then when something walks past, like maybe a hermit crab, he'll just go and he'll stay shut for a little while. So he's cool. It's always nice to get something that you don't expect, but you know, I just love watching my tank's nature. It's you know, like, it literally is its own little ecosystem. So what have we got here? This is my Alveopora. I do have a quick clip to show you, so you can see all of this stuff just moving naturally in the water. That's an Alveopora, which is classed as an LPS coral, which stands for large polyp stony coral. That is my hammer coral. There's a 4-headed branching hammer. There's 2 types of hammers. You can get some that form their skeleton like a wall, and it's sort of just, it's one solid polyp. I'm not really a fan of walling hammers. I had one before, and if something irritates it, it literally will melt away and you've lost the whole coral. With a branching one, they're individual like polyp heads, and if something annoys one to the point that it kills it, you won't generally lose your whole colony. So I always steer clear from the walled varieties of the hammer coral, which also applies to the frog spawn. Now this is my favourite coral. It's got long tentacles and like spots, or sort of nodules along the tentacles, which is where it gets its name frog spawn from. He hasn't actually opened up yet, so I haven't been able to get a good shot of him, but he's pretty cool and I do like that one. These are my bubble tip anemones, and next week on Wednesday I will be taking delivery of 2 tomato clowns. So they're, you know, Nemo fish, but they're not the common clown that you'll see commonly, excuse the pun there, in a fish tank. However, whenever I've added clownfish to my tank, they've ignored the anemones, and they're obviously supposed to host anemones. However, tomato clowns, you'll be very rare to see a tomato clown not hosting an anemone if it's in a tank. So I'm hoping that they will obviously make their home there. which will be pretty cool to watch, you know, with them swimming about between the anemone's tentacles. As I say, I've got a clip so you can see them moving. I've bodged my other lights along my Orphec 003 bars. These are my aqua rays, which do my sunrise and sunset. So in the morning, one of them will ramp up with a very dim blue up to full power before the main strip, which is the straight ones, turn on. And then at the back there is a daylight bulb as well, so it just adds a light, you know, not as intense bright light. And then at the end of the day, the white will ramp down and then the blue will ramp down, and then so they're the first and last to turn on. It just sort of gives that sunrise and sunset feel, because my Orphec 003 bars are not dimmable, so they're either on or off, and I just don't like tanks where you've got nothing to on. And also they do help to prevent your anemones from wandering, because anemones will love to go wandering when it's dark. So when I've got my blue lights on 1%, you can just about see in the tank, so it's like a moonlight, and I've always found that it prevents your anemones from wandering around, which is good, especially if you've got like rock flower anemones, which I am hoping to get a new one, because unfortunately my dwarf angel picked at my rock flower anemone, and they are the most beautiful anemone that you can get, but they love to wander in the dark, and mine didn't after I installed this sunrise and sunset configuration. He stayed put, which was great, but as I say, unfortunately the dwarf angel picked at him and pissed him off to the point where he died, which was a shame. So yeah, so that's my lighting fixture. As I say, I'm going to get a pelmet made which will hide all of that, and make it look pretty. So oh yeah, so we're back to the beginning. So if I just show you this, so this is the clip that I've got. So that's what my tank looks like at the moment. I'll just move out of the way so you can see full tank shot. As I say, I'm still waiting for a delivery of livestock, which will be next week on Wednesday. So I'll get some, hopefully some good shots of all of that stuff as it goes in, and do some videos. After that, I don't really know what to do in regards to aquarium related videos, but if I think of something to talk about, or to, you know, I see something cool that happens, then, you know, I'll catch a shot of it and do a video. So if I just play this video, and it's not perfect, I just did a quick little run round. There's my Alveopora. Got a bit of blue down there, so I just moved away. That's my plating Monty. It's an SPS coral. Toadstool up the top there. And my bubble tips. It's a lovely orange and green glow. That's the hammer. Not fully expanded. And the hairy or furry mushrooms. This guy here is a Gonopora, similar to an Alveopora, but they've got like longer polyp tentacles. And there's the frog spawn. You can sort of see the spots on the tentacles clearer there. And just a quick clip of my zoas. So these are zoanthids, and they're called gorilla nipples. Quite comical. But yeah, it was just a quick clip like that, and that is what the tank currently looks like. So that were all got put in on day 6. After testing the water, everything was fine, and there's a few other things in there that I haven't shown you yet, but once everything's settled down, and I remember when the correct part of the day is because it's difficult to get shots when there's more blue light, and currently everything is blue, so I'll try and remember to get some better shots, maybe do some more in-depth discussion on certain types of coral, and maybe the processes that go, that happen when you're maintaining a reef tank. I might do something like that in the future. So yeah, so that was my day 5 and 6 update. Yesterday I was just tweaking with the power heads and the pumps, just to settle it down. My sand is very, very light, so it gets blown around. As you can see here, it's been moved. It's never going to be perfect until all of the life forms start colonizing that sand, because at the moment it's literally got nothing in it, so the power heads just blow it around the tank. So basically that's what I did yesterday, was just readjusting things just to calm it down a little bit. So that's it. So unless I think of anything in the meantime to talk about, the next update will be from when I get some more livestock. So yeah, so the tank's in, everything's in there, bar my conch or conch, which is like a little mini elephant. When I find him, I'll show you because he's cool. I've got another one coming next week, but literally he's just a snail in a shell that has a trunk, and it's like zooming around, eating things with the end of his trunk. He's really cool, but I can't find him in my old tank. He's in there somewhere, and I've been digging around in the sand, but it kicks up a storm and then you can't see. So I still got to find him, and then I'll be breaking that tank down, and then I can put my TV finally back in its place, because at the moment it's just in the middle of the lounge, and it's starting to bug me because it's messy. So yeah, as I say, yesterday not much happened tank related, just tidying up really and tweaking, and so I'm now going to go and, well, hopefully just keep an eye out for him, the conch, until I can get him out, and then I can take all the water out. So yeah, hopefully I find him soon, and then I can crack on with tidying up the lounge, because it is messy, and it's annoying. So everything's good, everything's in the tank, nothing's leaking anymore, other than obviously the old one, but that's fine. It will be out within the next day or so, and then that'll be good. So guys, that's it for this update. As I say, there won't be any daily updates, or well, they weren't daily, but you know what I mean. You won't get a day 8, 9, 10 from now on. I'll just do some random aquarium related stuff as and when something suitable arises, and maybe just show some in-depths into my maintenance schedule. There'll be things like when the glass gets covered in algae, or starts to, and then that shows different cycles of the tank. I'm hoping I don't get a cycle, but I am expecting some little fine hair algae to start growing on the glass, because it always does in a new tank, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I'll do some updates, especially obviously the livestock that's coming. So just to give you a quick rundown of what I'm getting, I've got some nerite snails coming, which I've been trying to get for years, but every time I've remembered to try and find them, they've been out of stock everywhere. They're really good for eating bad algae, like cyanobacteria, hair algae, because a tank can get overrun pretty quick if you don't have a cleanup crew. More on that later. A new conch or conch is coming, and I've got some chalk bass fish, which will be quite cool, so I'll show you those. I've got the tomato clowns coming, what else did I get? Oh, another Regal tang. So this is also known as Dory from Finding Nemo. I love Regal tangs, so I've got a Regal tang coming. What else did I order? I can't remember. There's a few other things that I do want to get which I haven't ordered yet, which I'm going to try to arrange to come on the same day. I just want to minimize aggression in the tank, because adding new stuff later on can go wrong, and it's the one thing that's going to keep my dwarf angel out of the tank at the moment, because if I add anything afterwards, I know he'll be a grumpy little git and he'll chase it around the tank. So I'm avoiding that at the moment. I'm just looking at my shopping cart. Oh yeah, so I've ordered loads of Copy pods. I'll explain more on them once I've got some photos, but basically they're like zooplankton, tiny little swimming things which add diversity to a tank, and if anyone keeps mandarins or copperband butterfly fish, Copy pods are essential, because well, mandarins will only eat copy pods, but they're good for your tank. So I'm just looking. I haven't got my order here. Where is it? Oh, that's a shame. So what did I buy? Chalk bass, the Regal tang, the tomato clowns. Oh, and 2 sexy shrimp. They're called sexy shrimp. Is it Thor? Something Thor. They're literally a tiny little orange and white shrimp. They're basically the same coloration as a clownfish, and they get their name because they wiggle their tails, so it's like dancing shrimp. They're pretty cool. I'll get some good videos of those because they're quite entertaining to watch. So I've got a couple of those coming. I can't get up the order on my phone for some reason right now, so if there was anything else on there, well, we'll talk about it in the next video. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, because it will add some, just the tank is devoid of things swimming around, and that's what's lacking now. So anyway, wow, this is a 27-minute video. This has gone a bit crazy, hasn't it? So anyway, this is the last structured update, and the next, because everything's in, the tank is done, so that's good. But I'll show you some of my new livestock, and maybe some better shots of what's currently in there once it's all settled down and opened up fully. So guys, as always, thanks very much, and until the next one, see you soon.